Think finally I understand why I couldn't bring myself to trust Reed. 'Cause I know his type, idealist, like me, who can't see that what he believes in will devour everyone he cares about. Just one thing sets us apart. Unlike me, he saw his shit through to the end. Price be damned. There. Fucking said it.
No comparison, Johnny. Reed was making up for his past, correcting his mistakes. Fought for a second chance. For himself. In song. You?
Guess I was never chasing ideals. Not really. Life. That's what I was running from.
And? Still running?
Does it matter? I'm still breathing. Sort of. Just don't know what the fuck for.
Legends don't die in Night City. That's what they say. They echo in famous songs, in graffiti across broken walls, in stories whispered by people who never even met them. But in all reality, legends do in fact lie. They always lie. They lied through centuries, decades of just unspeakable lies. At least given how much trauma they had to endure. And no one knew that better than Johnny Silverhand, soldier, rock star, terrorist if you like to say it, personality construct of the real thing, a man who lived loud enough to be remembered, only to discover that being remembered isn't the same as being alive. This is the story of a man who wanted to change the world, and instead had to confront the truth, that maybe the fight wasn't worth the cost. Because in Night City, there are no happy endings. Long before he was Johnny Silverhand, he was just John, a kid drafted into a war that wasn't even his, forced to face those in his shoes. The battlefield taught him many, and so far given him only a handful of few things that actually mattered. Once you have killed enough, you stop remembering the reasons why. He came back from that war broken, disillusioned, carrying more ghosts than medals. He hated the corpos because he's seen firsthand what they brought to the world. It stripped the world bare and steal it back in pieces. But he also hated himself more than anyone. For fighting in their war, for surviving when so many others didn't. And this could ruin a man more than anyone could ever realize.
These yours?
They were. Belong to you now.
Why are you giving me these?
Imagine we're deployed together, fighting in a war, side by side. Would you take a bullet for me?
I would. Yeah.
Tags belong to a man who sacrificed his life for mine in Mexico. Been thinking about our predicament. Want to be clear. I will do you no wrong. When the time comes, it'll be my life for yours. I'll agree to get wiped. Tags are proof of my promise.
I do the same for you.
So he did what broken men often do. He reinvented himself as the one and only legend/rebel Johnny Silverhand. The rock star, the rocker boy, a name sharp enough to cut through tires with his past, loud enough to drown out the guilt. He thought purpose is in music, in rebellion, in standing on the stage and screaming at the world that had chewed him up, however distastefully. And people listened, cheering aggressively as their ideals had just found the perfect precedent. Because Johnny carrying them with his music, he was anger turned into art, rage given a rhythm. His band named Samurai became an anthem for the disillusioned, for the free and the honorable. But under the noise there were also ego. Johnny didn't want to fight the system, not just that. He wanted to be seen fighting it. Every riff, every speech, every Molotov cocktail thrown in the name of freedom was also a way of stamping his name into history, to let the people know he was responsible for bringing Arasaka down to the collapsed knees. Now let's rewind a bit and talk about Arasaka itself, the corporation he couldn't let go of. To Johnny, they should have been wiped out long ago. They were the monsters under his bed, the shadow of every lost friend he has lost, every scar on his body, and the one corporation which took his luck from him. So he escalated. Protests became bombings, music became weapons, and finally the moment came for the final act, the assault on Arasaka Tower. Johnny Silverhand, the man who once sang for the people and the freedom of their people, was now dragging them into fire with him. And here's the tragedy, in which I like to call it something he had to bury himself with. He believed it. He believed he was saving the world, that destroying Arasaka was worth any cost, at all cost. But in the end, it cost him his own life, and later a fate worse than death. Except death wasn't the end. Arasaka made sure of that. His consciousness was torn out, digitalized, stored in the stolen data. Johnny Silverhand was no longer. He was gone. What remained was a ghost, an engram, code with memories, rage without a body. And when he resurfaced decades later in V's head, he wasn't a survivor like he has made himself to be. He was a parasite, a shadow, a reminder that even in death, he couldn't escape his obsession. He couldn't rest easily. The pattern repeated itself, and strongly believed he could maybe finish what he started decades ago. For Johnny, this was hell. To live again and to see the rotten corporation was still standing, stronger and more powerful than ever. To watch someone else's breath through his lungs he couldn't feel. To shout a world that no longer cared about his name. His great ideals reduced to a hitchhiker in someone else's life.
I saw a corpse strip farmers of water, and eventually of land. Saw them transform Night City into a machine fueled by people's crushed spirits, broken dreams, and emptied pockets. Corps have long controlled our lives, taken lots, and now they're after our souls.
Might be right. Can't really argue with you there.
V, I've declared war not because capitalism's a thorn in my side or out of nostalgia for an America gone by. This war's a people's war against a system that spiraled out of our control. It's a war against the fucking forces of entropy. Understand? Do whatever it takes to stop them, defeat them, gut them. If I gotta kill, I'll kill. If I need your body, I'll fucking take it. Fucking hell.
And this is where the cracks began to show. The noise stopped. The shouting quietened, and Johnny was left with himself. He looked back and saw the corpos still stood. The city still bled in pieces. His so-called revolution was just another story swallowed by Night City. All that anger, all the sacrifice, all that ego. And what did it bring him? Nothing but chains. The realization was brutal. Maybe he wasn't just the hero he's supposedly meant to be. Not even a survivor. What about a legend, for God's sake? Maybe he was just a man who wanted and wasted his life chasing a dream that was never his own. And the guilt ate at him. The people he lost, the lives he ruined, the body he could never reclaim. The rebellion wasn't worth the cost. Not when he saw how much it took and how little it gave back. Johnny never doubted he would be remembered. Not even once. He wasn't wired for humility after all. He believed his name was carved into marrow of Night City itself. The concerts, the riots, and the fire on Arasaka Tower. He thought it all meant something. That his sacrifice was kind of a morality or immortality. Yet when people walked past his grave, they would whisper his name like a prayer, or a curse like an honest miscar. And so he walked, searching, expecting flowers, memorials, anything, some kind of mark in history that screamed Johnny Silverhand was here. He expects the statues, a neon, a shrine, and at very least, because if anyone deserved to live forever, it was him. Or maybe it was what he expected. The soldier who turned the rock star. The rock star who turned the terrorist. The man who told Arasaka to burn. But there is no shrine, no flowers, no applause. Row after row, it's just silence. Just a humming void. His grave is empty, his legacy forgotten. He realizes the world didn't etch his name into eternity. He erased like static on a dead shadow. And in that silence, the truth hits him. He didn't die for the people. He didn't die for the freedom or the ideals he lived for. He died for nothing. His rebellion, his music, his entire existence, a burst of noise that the world turned out as soon as it ended. He gave everything, and the city didn't even bother to remember. These voices cut through, steady but heavily with meaning.
But let's say it was my real grave. What would you write? Here lies Johnny Silverhand.
The guy who saved my life.
V, you don't know how much I want that to be true. Listen, I realize I fucked up a lot of things. Either let down or used every last person who gave me their trust. Blind, selfish bastard that I was. But I've managed one thing for now. Not to fuck this up. What we have.
That's it. That's all that's left. Not the crowds, not the rebellion, not the goddamn vision he lived for. Just this one voice, one person, one life. Johnny Silverhand didn't get his revolution, but he saved somebody. And maybe that's just the start of something he truly meant to live for. Not immortality, not applause, but one soul who remembers. And then comes the choice, the moment that defines the ghost more than the man. Johnny Silverhand has the chance to live again, to take V's body, to erase someone else's way he himself had been erased, to seize a second chance at life, to finally be himself, to have their chance in redemption. The old Johnny would have done it without blinking. The old Johnny would have shouted, "The fight never ends." But this Johnny, the tired ghost, the man who finally saw himself for what he was, chooses differently. He lets go of everything, of who he wants to be or the redemption. He says, let it go. He gives the body to V. He accepts his own death, not as a sacrifice for glory, not as a myth or a mythic act, but as a quiet surrender. For once, it's not about Johnny Silverhand, it's about someone else having the chance he never did. And maybe that's the real rebellion. Not the bombs, not the songs, not the speeches, but the silence. The choice to step aside, to stop chasing immortality, to stop screaming for the world to remember his name. Because being remembered is a lie. Names fade, symbols get bought and sold. It actually doesn't care who you were, only what you give it before it swallows you whole. But letting someone else live, giving up the obsession, the ego, the hunger to be eternal, that's the most human thing Johnny Silverhand ever did. Johnny Silverhand lived as a soldier, a rock star, or maybe you can even call him a terrorist after all. It's your choice. But he died as a ghost, chained to his past. But his last act, he became something else entirely. He has shown who he was deep down, who he wanted to be in the first place. Not a legend, not a myth, but just a man who finally accepts who he was and that the ideals are not worth sacrificing everything. And in a world that feeds on noise and chaos, maybe that's the loudest statement he ever made. And so guys, thank you so much for watching today's video. I hope you have enjoyed it, and if you like some of the more complex, complicated character studies or analysis, or even a video entirely on Night City, just ask me, give me feedback, give me energy, so I can make more videos for you guys. Surely you have also liked today's video as much as I did, because making these are such a blast. And so guys, thank you so much again for watching. Until the next time, see ya.
Know what? You're starting to remind me of me, 50 years back. Minus the charisma. An impressive cop.